so happy to have you on today because I think there's an awful lot of interesting stuff to talk to relating to New York. I'm just going to ask about your poppy first. What's the poppy about?
Well, the red poppy is for remembrance and the white poppy is for peace. And I think it's important both to reflect back on history, but also look to the future and say this is a time to talk about peace and diplomacy too.
Right, let's get your thoughts on Zohran Mamdani's win in New York. What are the lessons?
Well, I feel like I'm grinning from ear to ear because, first of all, I think it just feels like a delightful moment where hope has triumphed. And although that's about New York, I think it's also about improving people's lives, both in America, but that's what we need to do right across England and Wales. And I think what Zohran really did was connect with the lives of ordinary people, mobilise young people, and it wasn't just about social media. I think that sometimes it becomes about the communication style. He's undoubtedly an incredible communicator, but actually I think it was about the policies. It was a relentless focus on inequality, and that's exactly what we're going to do here.
This is the thing that's interesting, isn't it? So he's a left-wing socialist. He's been unafraid in taking on the right. He's been very critical of Donald Trump. He wants to tax millionaires. Are you the British the British Mamdani?
Well, he's much cooler than I am, and I think it's important to know where your coolness lies. But actually, what I do entirely intend to do is the same relentless focus on inequality.
You're modelling yourself a bit on what he's done. Is that fair to say?
Well, it's interesting. We were roughly doing it at the same time, actually. So I think this isn't about one person's learning from another, but I think the left more generally around the world are going absolute solidarity with minority communities, with trans people, with migrants. But actually, the problems that are facing them more than anything is inequality. And inequality faces all of us, other than multimillionaires and billionaires. So let's talk about what we have in common and make sure we take the fight to the right.
The Democrats were sceptical about him, but he's won in New York and he's won big. Do you think that you could be the next Prime Minister?
I think it's not for me right now about a focus on being Prime Minister, and that's not avoiding the question because I want to answer the question really directly. My focus right now, though, is making sure we get 30, 40, maybe even more MPs at the next general election. Now, that was what I was saying a few weeks ago. Since I've said that, I've been elected about 2 months today. We've over doubled the Green Party membership. We've had a poll where we've overtaken the Labour government. So to answer your question directly, things are changing rapidly for me in the Green Party, and now 30 to 40 MPs is starting to look unambitious. I can't give you an exact number yet because we've got to go away, work the numbers and go, actually, if we keep growing at this pretty much exponential rate, what are our ambitions at the next general election? But right now, that isn't being Prime Minister. It's just making sure we get as big a block of Green MPs as possible. You
say that 30 to 40 MPs looks unambitious for you. And I know you don't want to put a number on it, but can you give me a bit of a sense of what is the sort of target? What are you looking for? Are you looking to enter a coalition or to be part of a government or to get over 50 MPs? What is it?
So we definitely want to hold the balance to power because actually, ultimately, what I want for this country is to make sure that we are taxing wealth more than we're taxing work. I want to make sure we have action on the climate crisis and I want to bring in proportional representation.
What does hold the balance of the power mean? Does that mean you would go into, say, a coalition with Labour or a supply and demand? What do you want to do?
Well, again, most politicians would say, I'm not going to answer that question right now, but you're asking me a direct question, so I'll give you a direct answer. I wouldn't go into coalition with Keir Starmer. This is a man who has perpetrated an ongoing genocide in Gaza. He ran on the coattails of Jeremy Corbyn, and I would say he ditched every single pledge he could. So I think the man's proven to be untrustworthy. However, I don't think he'll be Prime Minister at the next election. So it's very difficult for me to predict what a relationship between the Green Party and the Labour Party look like until I know who the future leader will be.
So what about Nigel Farage then? Are you saying that you might do a deal with him?
No, there's no way I'd do a deal with Nigel Farage.
So if you're looking at Labour, would a condition be, so I know I'm jumping ahead on all those things, but things have changed. Like you said, your ambitions have changed. Are you thinking that, one of your conditions would be a different leader of the Labour Party, for example, that you felt you could work with?
I'm not sure it'd be for the Green Party leader to demand who Labour led with, but I think Labour membership and people who are thinking about voting Labour in the past are increasingly voting with their feet and moving over to the Green Party anyway, as well as lots of ex-Tories who are joining the Green Party. It's interesting. Often the phenomenon is that we're just getting disillusioned left-wing voters. But actually, there's lots of people who are looking at Kemi Badenoch and going, I care about basic things like science and like decency, and actually those values lie in the Green Party too.
You gave a speech last night on climate change, and of course we've got the COP conference kicking off this week, the big climate conference. Do you have any high hopes for it, or are you or not?
I don't have any high hopes for it at all, but what I do have hopes, because that's the number one thing we have to do, is that we can sort out the climate crisis. We're in the crucial decade of action. We had the UN Secretary General just a week or two ago say we're going to overshoot some of those vital targets, and it barely made a headline. And I think that's because we've all been paralysed into this kind of fear and doom-mongering of there's nothing we can do about it. We hold agency and power, and when I say we, I'm talking about the country and the government. If we make sure that the polluter pays, we need to hold fossil fuel companies accountable. It is outrageous that we've just had a hurricane in Jamaica that has killed people and caused mass devastation. Why are we calling it Hurricane Melissa? It should be called Hurricane Shell. Or at this point, it should be called Hurricane Labour, because actually we still have a Labour government who are giving fossil fuel subsidies to oil and gas rather than subsidising things like they should be, like train travel.
Look, I understand entirely how passionately, the Green Party is supporting these climate arguments. But the hurricane in Jamaica killed people, right? It devastated people's homes. And you're saying it should be called Hurricane Labour. I mean, that's quite incendiary, isn't it? We've seen, protests against Labour MPs. We've seen people having, panic alarms. And you're saying that the name of a hurricane should be the Labour Party.
Well, let's be clear about what is incendiary. The Labour Party right now aren't refusing to rule out the Rosebank oil field. This is a new oil field where the cumulative carbon emission impacts will be the same as 28 of the poorest and low-income countries in the world. This is sociopathic behaviour if they don't rule it out. So I accept that what I'm saying is strong language, but we need to have stronger language about the climate crisis. It is killing people. Now, are the Labour Party fully responsible? Absolutely not. The fossil fuel companies are responsible, and that's why I've said that. But they are still subsidising those fossil fuel companies, and there are consequences to the decisions that the government make. And so what I'm saying, I don't doubt people like Ed Miliband, for instance, really understand this issue and they care about it deeply. But at what point are you still expanding aviation and expanding runways and not recognising your impact that you're having on the planet and the destruction of the planet?
You don't fly on planes, you don't drive, you're a vegan. I'm just interested to say, if you were UK Prime Minister and you were asked to attend COP, which presumably means getting on a plane, what would you do?
I would go, because that would be a different circumstance. But I also always want to say to people that I don't fly and I don't drive and I'm vegan because I'm Green Party leader and I have the power and the privilege to make those choices. But none of it is about that. It's not about individual responsibility. It's straight back to the last conversation we're having. This is about government and big business making that system change rather than pointing at individuals.
So you're not trying to be holier than thou, basically?
Absolutely not.
What's your kind of vice? You must have a little, ungreen...
Do you know what? You asked me that last time when I was on the show, and I thought, I wish I had a better answer.
You must have something.
I mean, I love chocolate, but obsessively so. Vegan chocolate, obviously.
I don't think
and
that
as I'm putting on the
counts.
weight, I'm thinking I should probably put that
I don't think that
aside.
counts, I have to say.
I'll work on a better one for next time.